Welcome back to Virtually Vikings radio show, the half-hour program that will be discussing all things St. John's River State College. Each week, we'll be spotlighting a new degree, program, events, or resources that are offered through the college. I'm your host, Mickey Johns, and today the topic will be the Florida School of the Arts and their production of the Rocky Horror Show. Joining me today are Faculty Director, Professor Russell Franks, and from the cast, Alexis Brockway and E. Noah Perez. Thank you all for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to work with Florida School of the Arts. I want to start with you, Professor Franks. What inspired you to bring the Rocky Horror musical to Palatka?
Well, one of the first things that we always think about when we are thinking about our new production season is what is going to serve our students best. That is always our first and foremost priority. So we really thought that Rocky Horror, while a very popular show, really fit the students that we have enrolled right now. If it's their voices, if it's their acting styles, if it's their dance abilities, because this is a fairly dance-heavy show as well. So, and we're bringing a lot of people from different areas, not just the musical theater a degree, but we're also bringing people in from the dance area and from the acting area as well to be in the production. So that's really why we chose it, other than the fact that it's enormously popular. It's a worldwide sensation. It's iconic all over the world. I would say, you know, it's an American icon, although it was not born in America, but it soon came over to America. So, and I really think that the Palatka audience, I think the Putnam County, I think the Clay County, I think the St. Johns County, I think everyone is going to enjoy who comes to see this. It's going to be very appealing, I think, to a wide audience.
Perfect. There is a small portion of the audience that doesn't really know what the Rocky Horror Show is about. Could you explain what the essence of the show is, why they should come see it?
Well, the essence of the show.
I know it's a small section of the audience, but for those that don't know,
well,
I have found
right,
them.
right. Well, the show kind of deals with. Actually, it was kind of born out of the 1930s through, say, the 1960s B horror movies. The man who wrote the show, who composed the show and wrote the lyrics for the show, he was from England, but his family moved to New Zealand. And when he was living there, at the age of 15, he worked in this little barber shop in downtown, wherever it was he was living at the time. And there was this little movie house across the street. And so after he was done working, he would go over there for a late night show. And a lot of times they showed these old horror movies. And so that's kind of what inspired him. So that's where it kind of all comes from. And I think it was this sort of campy horror genre that he kind of thought, how would that might appeal to a 70s audience, because he wrote this in 1972, 1973. It premiered in on the West End, or actually not actually on the West End. It was actually in some cellars and in some attics for a while before it actually started to hit worldwide fame. But that's kind of where it all came from. So that's what it really deals with. It deals with these sort of stock characters, like there's a Frankenstein type character who is actually exactly the opposite of what we know Frankenstein to be. There's the monster that he created, which again is exactly the opposite of what Frankenstein's monster was. And so all of these kind of elements come together, and there's quotes, and there are many references to all of these movies that are just kind of in the American icon of B-movie schlock theater.
And with that icon, again, those that do know it, as soon as they saw like even coworkers here, when we kind of got the hint that it was coming, people were talking about participating and dressing up. Is that something we're doing? Are we encouraging that with our guests coming into the shows?
You know, I would say we're probably not going to let you in if you're not going to participate. No, we'll let you in. But yeah, no, we are absolutely fully encouraging audience participation. We are warning the cast that very likely they're going to shout out things at you,
Mm-hmm.
and
Uh-huh.
we're deciding how to deal with that. And what how responses to that, because sometimes the actors on stage will respond to something if something is particularly funny. um, so yeah, and we're gonna actually have little props bag. We're calling them props bags. Sometimes I call them little goodie bags, and they can be purchased as part of your ticket. It's only $5 extra as part of your ticket, and it has all the things that, say, if you went to a midnight showing of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which is the movie version, it has a little water gun in there. It has. We're not doing rice because we thought that might be a little messy and bugs might come in. So we're
Yeah.
actually doing confetti. We're going to do confetti for the wedding scenes. We have newspapers in there. We have noisemakers in there. There is this really cool little streamer thing that we have in there, and we're definitely going to make a mess in the theater. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we're absolutely encouraging people to dress up as crazy as they want to. We want them to participate. We want them to sing along. We want them to kind of shout things at our performers on stage. So yeah, absolutely, full participation.
Perfect. And then, I mean, you're referencing things that people are used to with the movie musical and things like that. What's the difference in your interpretation and what folks might be familiar with from the movie as well?
Well, the movie version you might sort of consider the original. And the
Mm-hmm.
original was very much this gender bending, gender fluid characters, and at the end, everybody sort of becomes, or maybe explores, the duality that is in within all of us. But when we meet Frankenfurter for the first time, he is pretty much in full drag. Other characters are not so much. But it's that sort of exploration. Our version is going to be similar to that. We're going to try to hit all of those tropes. Plus, we want to make sure that it's recognizable to Rocky Horror fans. But I wouldn't say updating it, but we're emphasizing the alien aspect of it, because Frankenfurter and Magenta and Riff Raff, they're all aliens actually that are visiting the planet. And so we're kind of, the aliens in the cast are going to look maybe a little bit more alien, but with some recognizable costumes. The humans will definitely look very human. They might have a little bit of grunge look to them, or that sort of 80s Madonna, Cyndi Lauper look to them. But it'll be recognizable, but just a little bit of a twist with the aliens
And
aspect.
I mean, and you touched on the terms of costumes. What can like are we playing with the lights and the set design in that respect as well? Or
Oh,
it,
definitely. So the costumes, we're gonna have very deep, rich colored costumes. It's not going to be quite so gothic, black and white, with the big red lips. You'll see the big red lips, but we're going to have a lot more color, I think, than maybe what the audience might be used to. The humans will look, I think, pretty much like you expect them to. Brad and Janet, who we have our students here who are playing Brad and Janet, who are the humans who get kind of tricked into coming into Frankenfurter's castle in the rain. They're gonna be dressed, I think, very typically of, maybe the late 1980s, 1990s era. So they'll have that kind of recognizable look, but it's going to be a little bit more lavish in the color palette that we're using. Our lighting designer is using some colors that she said she never thought that she would put together. She's got some sort of lime green colored lights, along with some very deep amber lights, to kind of give it that maybe old school horror um, uh, laboratory where experiments go on. It's going to have a lot of that look to it. So it's going to be kind of a very dark, a very deep show in terms of color.
very cool. And um with all of the changing it up and making it newer for audiences, are there big challenges you face within the rehearsals and staging the show?
Well, I would say it's a rather traditional staging. Um,
Okay.
the real challenges have come from the two hurricanes we've had. It's
Yep.
kind of put a little bit
Yeah.
of a damper
Just a little.
in our rehearsal process because, usually about 2 weeks out, we are fully running the show and, kind of tweaking the show and molding the show to make it better. However, we definitely got a little derailed that way, but it did give students time to actually sit with their scripts and their scores and really start to think about their characters that way. So other than that, that's really been kind of the big challenge is just kind of the bumps in our schedule. But we're going to be ready to go come next Friday.
And it sounds like our Brad and Janet, Alexis and Eda. No, I agree with you on that. Like the hurricane, as far as being a challenge for you guys, what's a typical rehearsal look for you? And do you agree the hurricanes have been the biggest like one of the biggest challenges for you?
Yeah, the hurricane definitely was not a fun surprise to have with this process, especially the back-to-back. But I mean, with having the accessibility to the scripts and the music and the blocking that we started with, we were kind of able to continue to work on our own time, and feel a little bit more prepared to be able to come back and just keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, I agree. It was the hurricanes. I think all of us, actually, when the rehearsal process started, I was actually really impressed with everyone's work and how fast things were clicking. And I think it's been helping us a lot get back on track, is that all of us, I think, are enjoying it, what we're doing, and having a great time.
And obviously the hurricanes are changing up a typical rehearsal day, but what does that look like for you two working with school as well? How does a rehearsal day work?
Well, rehearsals usually start anywhere between like 6 to 7 p.m. and can end anywhere between 9 to 10 p.m. Rehearsals sometimes start with an intimacy call because this is a very physical show within the cast. So we gotta work with each other. We gotta work together to make sure everyone is okay and that they're 100% every day. So we start with an intimacy call. We'll do some dance reviewing some days. Some days we'll do a music review if we're looking at specific scenes. And then the remaining like 2 hours is blocking. And at this point, it's running the show. It's putting all the pieces together. It's adding the props. It's adding the set. It's a lot of add-ons now. And then sooner than later, it'll be adding on the costumes. So it's a lot of just like more and more and more that's being added on to get that final product.
And you brought up the intimacy training meetings. As far as that goes, there's some pretty suggestive material within this show. How big of a challenge has that been with you guys?
I know it's some parts of it have been a challenge for some of my peers as well. We've had conversations about the material and separating ourselves from what's going on. Making sure, I think, taking the time to be like, oh yeah, this is a character. This is not me. I'm doing this for fun. I think is the part that really helps. It is like it's not like, oh, like this is, maybe if you think about it too long, it's like maybe I don't like it, but it's just for the fun of it and for the freedom of it that I think has made it easier and made it more enjoyable, and what I would want everyone to experience when they see it.
We've also looked at some of the other scenes and have maybe added a little bit more humor to it than the actual, like, what you're used to seeing, like, in the movie kind. So it's a little bit more, we can have more of the fun with it and not it being so, like, on the side that people are used to.
Perfect. I like the way you worded that. And you're saying you're separating yourself from your character during these times when you need to. But how do you relate to your character? What's something that's challenging you to bring them to life? What connects you to them? How do you see yourself in Brad and Janet?
Well, I relate to Janet on a whole number of reasons, but she's such a ditz. She's such a I need my man and I'm scared, and I can appreciate that, especially for something like this. It's a big castle and there's aliens and terrible, horrible, disastrous things are happening, and I'm having fun with it because I am playing Janet, but there's also parts of myself coming in that's like, what's going on? What is happening right now? Somebody help, kind of a thing. So I'm having fun going back and forth playing as the Janet role and like taking myself out of it for some things, but also kind of incorporating some of like my personal like parts into it as well that I would play into, because I relate to the Janet role a little bit more than I thought I would have, especially how much we've been doing the rehearsal process. I've been finding different parts. I'm like, oh, this makes a lot of sense for this character and for myself. I don't know if you've had.
Yeah, I love me some Brad. He's he's just a guy. And yeah, it starts off in the beginning, he's like trying to like stereotypical like man, he's like doing all these things, and as it goes on, he's just like a mama's boy. And he just and I love my mom, so I get it. And it I've loved seeing his character become softer as it goes on, because I think in the beginning he's not soft, and towards the end it's so vulnerable, and it's interesting to play through um becoming vulnerable, because it's never an easy thing, and even though like on stage we have to do that, it's nice to work through.
It's also interesting because you said that too, the vulnerability part. I feel like for Janet, it's the complete opposite. She goes from this vulnerable state and she finds more of that confidence and more of that kind of confidence of the character as Brad kind of started with. So I think that's interesting. Our dynamic flips as the show continues.
I with that flip, is there standout moments in the musical, moments in the show in general, or just the musical numbers in the production that make it stand out for you as far as the show? Let me use stand out a couple more times in this question, but like, what sticks out for you as far as these with making those flips and things like that?
Time Warp. That song is iconic and also so fun, and our riffraff is amazing.
Yeah.
He's killing it.
Yeah.
So is Magenta. They're doing a great job. I think that number is going to be really solid and just a great time.
Yeah, I agree.
And incidentally, we have a really good tapper who's doing Columbia.
Yeah.
That's a moment that, Columbia has to do a little tap. And so we have one of our best tappers doing that. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely. Thank you.
And what else? I mean, there's so many different iconic numbers in this show. I don't know.
Personally, I'm excited for the floor show because we get to
have so much fun with some boa action and some fan action. And it's just going to be so silly and fun. And I can't wait to see like the actual finished product for that too, like with the costumes, with all the props. It's gonna look really good.
Yeah.
With the floor action and things like that, what you get to do the interaction, but how much are you looking forward to that? I mean, let me try this again. I'm so sorry. With that floor interaction, you're looking forward to that. What are you hoping for audiences to take away from your production within the participating or even just the show? What are you hoping for them to walk away with?
I think so. This is my first introduction to Rocky Horror when the show was announced. That's when I first started like having to watch it and learn more about it. And from what I've gathered, it's an escape. And I hope that they go there and they can just, so many things are happening and it's so fun and it's so random that nothing else matters for just however long the show lasts, and they just have a good time and it feels like, oh my gosh, I'm in this room with all these crazy people and we're having a great time. And that's what it is, and that's what you leave with.
I've been used to Rocky for a very long time. I've watched it, I've seen it, I've been in it. So I was going into this already knowing all of the different things, especially like, the call outs and the props and all the things on the audience side. But kind of the same thing. Just come and have a great time. Come in dressed up with your group of friends and your family. Come in and just have fun, because we're having fun on stage. So it's all fun.
And you said you've had past experience with the interaction with this show. How do you prepare for that? Both of you. I mean, you have a past with it, but Noah, you don't. Like, how have you guys prepared for that?
I prepare for like the show,
as far as the interaction with the audience and things like that.
Oh, I have no clue. I'm excited. I think hopefully it will be. I think what I'm going to prepare for is just knowing my script and my lines so well that no matter what they say, I don't forget what I'm doing and get so like, oh, that was really funny. Wait,
Yeah.
where am I?
Yeah. It's really a trusting of knowing your material and also starting to get used to what the audience is going to give to you as well. We've started the process of adding the call outs and rehearsals so people can start getting used to the distractions because there will be distractions. I mean that's Rocky Horror. That's the fun. I mean the prop bag and the call outs, it's not like it's not going to happen. So the more practice that we get with that, the smoother the process for the show will definitely be.
Yeah.
So one of the things we've been
Yeah.
talking about, we just started talking about, audience interaction and how that might affect what's going on the stage. Because, sometimes some of these things like the streamers that we have and the water pistols, they're going to make it onto the stage.
Mhm.
Some of these things are going to make it up there. So, we're as we're talking about that, there's a lot of what we call the fourth wall. And the fourth wall is that wall that's between the performer and the audience. And there's a lot of breaking down of that fourth wall. And so if something particularly stands out, because sometimes, you're in the middle of a scene and you hear that one voice say something so funny from the dark audience, it's okay. I've told them that it's okay to kind of look out, maybe give a wink to that person and, just break that fourth wall down just a little bit. Because it does kind of then include them as yet another character in the show. So, and I think that's why a lot of people go, because they feel like they actually are part of the show, and they really are.
Yeah.
Making that space within that fourth wall is always fun with this one.
Yeah.
I've absolutely loved listening to both of you talk about preparing for the show and getting to be a part of it. With being performance arts majors from Florida School of the Arts, what's your plan post-graduation? Not that we want you to go anywhere soon, but what are we doing when we leave Flow Arts? What are we going to do?
Well, you're leaving sooner, so.
Well, I'm graduating at the end of spring.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I am currently in the looks for both degree works at different universities and also auditioning for companies or shows. This past August, I was in New York and absolutely fell in love and kind of in the looks of maybe I just moved to New York. I mean, that's the dream, but I'm kind of in the middle of looking at all the different avenues and seeing who says yes, where's the yes, and I'm just going to follow whatever that path may be, whether it's straight to another university or straight into work. So I guess we'll see what happens.
All the options. What about you, Ida?
All the options.
Yeah, similarly, my plan for graduation, I feel like with a lot of arts people is like, I'm gonna throw the net wide. I'm gonna audition to as many things as I can until I lose my mind and see what doors open, see where it leads me. Because I don't know, because you never know like what's gonna happen within the year of my life that I live. That gets me to that point. So the plan isn't super specific because I feel like as time goes on, I'll know when things come my way. But it's got to be performing something. I can't live without it. So.
Can I just say I'm absolutely in love with the way you guys approach it. And I don't know if you noticed, but the proud smile on Professor Franks' face as you guys were answering that, he's absolutely loving you guys looking at your options. And I can tell he's had fun working with you as well. I'm always impressed with the way Florida students are able to work with their schedule as far as doing the rehearsals and your schoolwork, because many of you are amazing. You're all amazing students anyway. On top of, I don't know how you do it. I need you all to teach me how to life. But I love that you're keeping all of the options open, and I love that you're dreaming big. But thank you so very, very much for joining me today.
Thank
you. Thank you.
I have absolutely loved learning more about the show. If you need a volunteer to help interact and practice,
yes, come on in.
I'm here.
Hey, we will put you to work.
Let me know. I live close by, so I can be here all next weekend. And I'm always looking for an excuse out of my office. So let me know what I can do to help. I love making an excuse to come down and visit you guys down there. So just let me know. But thank you both or all for joining me. And thank you for tuning into the episode of Virtually Viking. And thank you again, Director Professor Russell Franks, Alexis Brockway, and EDOT Noah Perez for letting us get a sneak peek into their preparations and getting us even more excited to see the show. For the audience, don't forget the shows are October 25th at 7:30 p.m. Saturday, there are 2 shows at 2:30 p.m. and the second one at 7:30 p.m. There's a special midnight showing on Sunday at 12 a.m., obviously, because you can't do the Rocky Horror Show without a midnight show. And then there will be a final one Sunday afternoon at 2:30 p.m. Those tickets are available through the website, and you heard Professor Franks mention there is a special goodie bag you can purchase on top of that. So go ahead and grab that as well. We hope you come out and time warp with us on campus, though. So please make sure you do that. And it sounds like tickets are going to be going quickly, so I'd hop on that very quickly, as much as our faculty has been excited about it. As always, if you have any questions or topics that you'd like to have a spotlight in the future, we'd love to hear from you. Please reach out to virtuallyvikings@sjrstate.edu or any of our SJR State social media channels. Your feedback and suggestions are always welcome. Remember, whether you're looking to start a new career, advance in your current one, or simply explore new subjects, SJR State has the resources and support you need to succeed. We're here for you every step of the way, and that includes exploring your creative side. Until next time, go Vikings and join us on the time warp.
Thank you, Mickey.